Hey, what's up, y'all? Darwin here. Today, I want to show you how to mix screaming vocals from unprocessed to fully mixed. Let's just jump straight into it. Today, we're working with a band called I Assailant. Now, this is recorded at 456 Recordings with Brian Hood. Let's listen to it unprocessed, then we'll listen to it processed, and then we'll listen to it soloed and dive deeper and see what each plugin is actually doing. So, we'll listen to a section unprocessed here. Much bigger difference. So let's solo this and see what each plugin is actually doing. Let's start with the SSL-E, or the first in the lineup is the SSL-E compressor, or SSL-E channel strip. Let's start with the EQ side. So let's bypass the compressor. Just listen to the EQ. Starting with the high pass filter, I like to just knock everything away under 100 hertz. Now this might vary between vocalist to vocalist. Some vocalists you may want to knock everything below 90, maybe some others around 110, but it's generally around this area. But 100's a pretty good sweet spot. Now for the high frequencies, I like to shelf it. I like to high boost shelf around like 4 dB, 3 dB at around 10K. Now this gives it that sparkle, that brightness that you like to listen to in a lot of records. Actually, you see this a lot in commercial records, and it just gives it that nice bright feeling. Really makes it like the centerpiece of attention. Here in the more in the middle range, this is the intelligibility of the vocal. I like to boost around 3 dB at around 3K. This just makes it easier to understand the vocal. It sits it right on top of the whole mix, kind of be at the forefront of the mix. And then here on our low mids, I like to knock away probably like 3 dB, maybe 4 dB. Now this is gonna vary between vocalist to vocalist. Some people have more bass, some more low mids naturally in their voice. Start from around 800 and you may need to go all the way down to 600, 500 maybe even. But this just removes that boxiness of the vocal, gets rid of that low end mud that you really don't want, and especially in a metal mix. But let's see how this sounds like. Oh, another important thing, I think I forgot to mention that this was clicked off. When you click it, when you have it off like this basically tells the SSL channel strip to high shelf this high frequency boost instead of belling it. But let's see how this sounds bypassed, and then we'll see how it sounds engaged. So let's see how it sounds bypassed.
There's not a building with a limit us upon the earth across the sea.
Now engaged.
There's not a building with a limit us upon the earth across the sea.
Now, as you can tell, this already knocked out a lot of low end mud. It sounds much more brighter now, coming from this high shelf boost. Now let's take a look at the compressor side. Let's start with the ratio. Now I have it at 6:1. You can kind of tell this is tracked through a compressor, but you still have some dynamic range in here. You just want to shave off. You want the gap to be much closer, so you want to go pretty aggressive with 6:1. Your release, you want it to be fast, but you don't want it too fast. Otherwise, it could actually distort your vocal. Luckily, the fastest release time on the SSL-E on this plugin is 100 milliseconds, which is, it's fast, but it's not too fast. Once you get down to like the 10 millisecond, the 20s, you'll start to notice that it can distort your vocal and sound something may sound too pokey. But play around the 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 range. You'll see what I mean when you try this out. Fast attack. You don't want to, you don't want that pokey sound. You want that consistent scream vocal throughout the whole way. You want to knock around 10, 12 dB of gain reduction here. Let's see how this sounds like engaged, or bypass versus engaged.
There's not a building with a limit us upon the earth across the sea.
Now let's see engaged.
There's not a building with a limit us upon the earth across the sea.
Now it's starting to sound much more consistent now, much more leveled. So that's pretty much what's happening with the SSL-E channel strip. You do knock out some low end frequencies, boost some high end, cut out some low mids, and compress it fairly aggressive using a fast attack and fast release. Now let's check our second plugin, Joey Sturgis gain reduction. Now this is such a good plugin. If you don't have this, go get one right now. It gives your vocal so much character and so much like edge to it. I have slate all the way up to 100. I just want to crank everything out of this vocal as much as I can. And I think I'm generally doing about maybe 10 to 12 dB of gain reduction. I use this vocal for the character and aggression of the vocal. I use the SSL compressor more to level the vocal, but I use this compressor to give it that character and edge. Oh, one more thing. If you have this SSLE channel strip, make sure you have this off, this channel out. And what this does is this feeds the compressor first, then the EQ. This is the tactic we're trying to go through here, by the way. We want the compressor to first be processed, then EQ comes in, and then the second compressor comes in. You can try it, EQ, compressor, but this is generally how I like to approach my vocals. Again, there's no wrong or right way. It's just preference. I find I have more control over the vocal. But let's go back to the gain reduction here. Let's see how it sounds like disengaged and engaged. Oh, and the body. This adds low mids to the vocal, which I generally don't like. So I have it around -5, around -5, -4. Some people like their low mids and their screens, but I generally do not. But let's see how this sounds like.
There's not a better way that limits us upon the earth across the sea.
Now engaged.
There's not a better way that limits us upon the earth across the sea.
Now, I hope you can hear how much more punch this compressor adds. The P's, and I feel like he's spitting in my face whenever I use this on a screamer. I feel like he's like right there in front of my face, spitting in my face, screaming. Let's listen to it again. Disengaged.
There's not a better way that limits us upon the earth across the seas.
Listen to where he says across the seas right here.
Across the seas.
Now listen to engaged across the seas.
Across the seas.
See how much more pronounced the across the seas is? I feel like he's just hitting my face with his vocal. I love this compressor so much. But that's pretty much it with Joey Sturgis gain reduction. Next up we have a saturator. And generally I would use Soundtoys Decapitator in this step, but I don't have it right now. I need to go buy it. But I'm using Ableton Live's stock saturator, which, it does fairly all right. But, you do what you got, right? So let's listen to it disengaged and then engaged.
There's not a better way that limits us upon the earth across the sea. There's not a better way that limits us upon the earth across the sea.
Now, saturators it mostly adds harmonics in the upper frequencies. And this just adds a little bit more character, a little bit more color to it too. Decapitator is a way better saturator. It's probably the best saturator for metal mixes. You'll see that a lot. You'll hear that a lot. But if you have a saturator, try it out. Remember, don't overdo it. You don't want to overdo it. Just add a little color to it. As you can tell, I only have the drive set to 2, and then I take away some output to compensate for that, because you can get out of hand with this pretty quick. So just put some subtle saturation in there. Next up, our limiter. What the limiter does is it contains the vocal, so it can just be more consistent throughout the way. Sometimes you might get some spikes here and there, and this limiter just grabs them and keeps it consistent. I generally like to do 3-4 dB at max. It's barely reaching halfway.
There's not a better way that limits us upon the earth across the seas.
But yeah, listen to it disengage, see how it sounds like.
There's not a better way that limits us upon the earth across the seas.
Now engaged.
There's not a better way that limits us upon the earth across the seas.
And again, this is just complementing your compressors. Your compressors are already doing a lot of work, but the limiter just adding a little bit more consistency to the vocal throughout the whole way. Make sure it grabs any spikes that get out of the way. This is basically how I like to approach all my all my vocals. Is not too complicated. After you have this set up, this is my main processing. I like to send the vocal track to a bus, to a distortion bus over here, and do some parallel distortion. Now this is really effective if you want to get a bit more edge to your vocal. Let's listen to it disengaged and listen to it back engaged. So this is how it sounds like disengaged.
There's not a better way to limit us upon the earth across the seas.
Now let's listen to it engaged.
There's not a better way to limit us upon the earth across the seas.
Now it's much more aggressive, as you can tell. But let's see what I'm actually doing. I might have it too high actually. I kind of want it a little lower.
There's not a better way to limit us upon the earth across the sea.
There you go. Much better. What I like to do, just create a bus over here and just call it like vocal distortion. And you want to send each vocal. I like to send each vocal into that bus and then drop your favorite distortion here. Like whatever it is, I don't care what it is. No one cares what it is. We only care how it sounds like. I use Ableton's stock overdrive. It does fairly well. This is how it sounds like soloed.
There's not a better way to limit us upon the earth across the sea.
Yeah, it sounds really disgusting by itself. But the point is to put this right under the main vocal track. And this gives us that nice, consistent edge throughout the whole way. I think it fills in the gaps of what's missing down there. And it's a really cool trick. Try it out. This is how it sounds like with parallel distortion on.
There's not a better way to limit us upon the earth across the sea.
Now, that's pretty much it, guys. I generally use this chain throughout all the vocals right here, even the dubs. If I'm working with harmonies, maybe I like to use some different settings. But if they're dubs, I generally keep the settings the same and send them to the parallel distortion. But if this helped you out at all, in any way, shape, or form, drop a like, share it with your friends. I know this could help a lot of people who are producing their own music, all the metalheads out there. Yeah, let me know what you think. See you next time.